The following will contain spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Just last topic before we head out of here, and I'm going to start with Eman, especially with his commentary that we had when we did our spoiler review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think at the time did that, it was still kind of fresh that Bob Chapek was no longer the CEO of Disney. Iger was back. I think that news was maybe a few weeks or a month old at the time. And I posed the question, the future of the MCU after Ant-Man, but now the future of the MCU after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Eman, I remember asking you, and you said that you didn't think things were going to pick up for another 2 years. You said, the Fantastic Four. And that's not the right screen. February of 2025. And I'm like, man. So after, but before we get into that, I think just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you can agree or disagree. I think it's safe to say universally between us four that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is better than Ant-Man 3. Can we agree there? Okay. All right.
I had more thumbs, I would give them.
Okay. So with that being said, now that you've seen Guardians Volume 3, Eman, do you still feel the same that you did when we was talking about Ant-Man? Or are you more positive, more optimistic about the future of the MCU? Because the next thing that we have is the Disney Plus show is a Secret Invasion, and we got the trailer for that. And then in November, we have the Marvels. And so, again, sir, how are you feeling about this, man? You feeling still kind of icky, feeling more optimistic? What do you think is next?
I still think that this is going to be if I'm getting a gauge, I don't think that this pushes the needle, but I don't think it hurts the MCU either. I think, like I said, I think that because of the nature of this film, Volume 3, it's very self-contained. Its main objective is to close out the chapter for these Guardians. Nothing about this movie, except for maybe the new roster that they're going to introduce, is going to push the MCU forward. So I don't see it pushing the needle for people that are like, I need to get excited about the MCU or whatever. Like, I mean, if that roster, which I think is actually more of a downgrade than an upgrade, if that roster excites you, okay, cool. But overall, I don't think it's going to be like, oh man, I can't wait. The MCU is back, baby. Like, I'm not saying that. And I am still worried about the Marvels. Matter of fact, you can go to my video and I give you 4 reasons why I think the Marvels is going to underperform. And it's definitely not going to hit that $1 billion mark that Captain Marvel did. But yes, a lot of the stuff, in my opinion, is a byproduct of the stuff that was going on during the Chapek era when Phase 4 was starting off. And I think that had to do with a lot of shift in philosophy by doing more quantity than having good quality control. And we did notice, the moment Bob Iger came back, what did he say? We got to slow down. We got to slow down. We got to take our time. Maybe everybody doesn't need a sequel. Maybe every character doesn't need a follow-up. Ant-Man, and that's true. They have to get back to telling actual stories and not just chucking out products that have shoddy visual effects, questionable story angles, changes and shifts mid-franchise. A lot of these things were, I think, contributing to all of the midness that's been happening in Phase 4. For me, I'm thinking to myself, like, everything that came out during the Chapek era or that was in production during the Chapek era is going to suffer. And I do think the Marvels is going to be part of that. So the tipping point is probably going to be Cap 4. I do have some concerns with that, but I think it has some potential, even though it's looking more like a Hulk movie than it is a Captain America movie. But I think Deadpool is going to be a good sign of, okay, now we getting back on track. Fantastic Four, now we getting back on track. And Blade, everything else after that, I think is really gonna show us that, okay, Marvel, you had a moment, you had a slip up, we could blame it on the pandemic, but now y'all back. Okay, so yeah, I need to wait about a year or so before we get out of the averageness that we've been experiencing.
Averageness. I got you. Appreciate it, man. Elliot, coming to you next, sir. After seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, how are you feeling about the future of the MCU? We got the Marvels coming next, and then the Secret Invasion, then the Marvels. And just throw any constructive criticism out there for the filmmakers, producers, executives as well.
Yeah, man, I still think, I feel like history is just repeating itself in regards to, phase 1 and 2. There's some bangers in there. And I could say the same thing about phase 4, Shang-Chi, WandaVision, Loki for me, and various projects like that, Spider-Man No Way Home. But then when you transition into phase 2, which this is the phase 2 of, phase 5 now, you got your Iron Man 2s, you got your or Iron Man 3s, you got your Thor 2s and stuff that was kind of on a weak spot. But then as we kind of pivot into the back half of phase 2, we got some more projects. And, I'm not saying I want to wait to phase 6 so things get picking up again, but we know how phase 3 was for the MCU with hit after hit after hit. So I'm optimistic in regards to we've gotten some shades of the old MCU. This is kind of the end of an era with the Guardians of the back half. We got introduced to them in phase 2 and wrapping up their story in phase 5. So it is a sad thing to see. And I hope. And another thing that makes me a little nervous is, thinking of the Russos, James Gunn, or even Ryan Coogler, where they handpicked characters that spoke to their sensibilities. And the way Marvel's kind of been handpicking the directors is just kind of like plug and play. Like, oh, you did an independent film and you were able to bring out some nuance of a character. Maybe you can do, this, that, and the other. So I hope that they are able to focus on directors that have characters that speak to them, that they can bring out the things that we love from the characters of, again, Captain America teaming perfectly up the Russos, or, so on and so forth, the characters that just match James Gunn to the Guardians. So as far as the hope, I'm hoping that, again, this is just our phase 1, phase 2 hits, misses, and we're starting to get into that phase 3 of it all, where we can get a consistent batch of films. Because I'm like Eman, I'm wishing well for Captain Marvel or the Marvels, but here behind the scenes, the Chapek effect, and just the whole just inconsistency within the MCU and of late makes me nervous. But I'm hopeful that Nia DaCosta can put her touch on it. But I am thinking that, the Captain Americas, the Thunderbolts, the Deadpool's 3, the Fantastic Four, hopefully that's that run of films I'm talking about where it's just like banger after banger after banger. One can be hopeful.
Right on. Nagier, coming to you, sir, man. After seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, how are you feeling about the future of the MCU? Good, bad, in the middle? How you feeling, sir?
Definitely in the middle. A lot of the same sentiments as E-Man. Like, this did not push the needle. But collectively as a trilogy, I think Guardians definitely in that bit of self-containedness is fine. But as far as the overall picture of the MCU, I think the only thing we can actually take from this is just saying that, thank God that wasn't bad. Cool. Now what's next?
Yeah. At least y'all didn't suck.
Yeah. But I think I'm just, again, optimistic about what's to come. I'm actually excited for the Marvels because I love Miss Marvel. But then to Elliot's point about the connections between these directors and these characters, when are we going to get back to that? Or if we are going to stay with that? And I just feel like, one, there's going to be an identity crisis with this, because I did not like, first of all, I love Brie Larson, but let's just be honest. The script for her first film was just bad. So I'm wondering, do they repair that? Do they still bring in the magic from Miss Marvel? It's a lot of questions I have with that. So I'm going back into it. Like, hopefully it just doesn't suck. But yeah, when you talk about the new IPs or the Inquirer IPs from Fox coming in now, will this be the game changer? Will this be the continuity boost that we've been waiting for this entire time? Does that then get people to faithfully return to each of these MCU movies each and every few months? You say if they slow down, but nonetheless, hopefully that just changes the tone, changes the faith from the fans and the audience, and then they can get on the run. I do agree with that chunk of movies you said, Elliot. I think that's potentially the next eyesight in terms of are they going to get back in the groove? And where's Blade in this, by the way, which I'm also worried about. But where's Blade in the release again?
Mostly shooting in June, coming out in 2025, right?
Yeah, they're saying September of 2024. So a little over a year. Was that 14, 15 months?
They didn't push this back? with all
They did
the
already.
No,
They
they
pushed it.
did.
Yeah, it was supposed to come on what, October or something.
okay.
Yeah. I am really looking forward to Captain America: New World Order. As you guys know, what I'm saying, Anthony Mackie gonna come through representing Black America. Yeah,
Mr. Twisted Metal himself. Yeah,
Yes. I still gotta react to that. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
ain't missing nothing.